power AC from the power grid.
You have to convert
And
it.
then you have a rectifier here that converts it to 600 volts DC. Yep.
So how, on a long run,
Yep.
how did they keep, they did the power in sections?
Oh yeah, on Amtrak, okay? You know, it's electric from Washington, New York. Yeah, they're in sections.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in
So
sections.
they couldn't be a
No,
one DC
no,
run.
no. They're in sections. Okay, so we are Union, and it's time for our break right now. Okay, so we'll be back in about 1 hour. So while we're gone, guys, don't touch anything. I'm kidding. So this here actually is a old trolley type of signal system before electricity and before signals and whatnot, where if say 1, 2, 3, or 4 trolleys were going to be dispatched, you know, during say 1 hour or so, then trolley 1 would take paddle 1 and 2, 3, 4, so forth. Then the last trolley of the pack would take the large green paddle, because under that paddle is a stop sign and do not enter. And so if another trolley coming behind the last trolley saw that there's no paddle there, no large green paddle, that would tell him to stop and, you know, ask for what's going on. So that's one way that trolleys were signaling themselves and keeping them safe, by having a paddle system before
How were they?
lights.
How were they in communication?
Back then, before radio, they would have dispatchers along the route, you know, who telephoning by telephone.
By telephone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, ding ding. 1, 2, 3,
Ding,
ding
ding.
ding. Okay. So yeah, and then before telephone, the railroads would have towers, and each tower would be sighting of each other. And so once the train passed,
They would do signals.
they would do either physical signals
Yeah.
or lights but yeah, but before signal systems and telephone, of course there was telegraph. But even before telegraph, you know, the early days of railroads, it was towers. It was all line of sight.
Yeah.
And the tower A person and, you know, would signal the tower B person. You know,
It got really foggy. It was big trouble.
yeah, really trouble, yeah. Well, even on Amtrak, okay?
Yeah.
If it's foggy out, you know, and we're using wayside signals, we don't see it in red in front of us until we almost, if we're going 80 miles an hour, we don't always see it's fog in front of us. All of a sudden, you know, red flashes by us, you know, and what's happening? Oh yeah.
I think, yeah, like right across the Connecticut River from where we are.
Yeah.
That Amtrak, they run the Montreal,
Well, they want,
not mainly freight, but they
Yeah.
run one passenger train. I think they still do.
well, Amtrak runs the Vermonter, and the Ethan Allen. Yeah. Goes up
But,
there.
you know, the thing that amazes me is that there's a at-grade road crossing
Yeah.
right over there. And they're, you know, we don't mind, we're like a mile away,
Yeah.
but it's a very loud,
Oh, yeah.
you know, blast
Well,
on
it
the
has to be.
Yeah.
Because the train can't stop,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, so,
How fast can this go?
well, right now, we're gonna go no more than 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But back in the day, these trolleys here, well, this line here,
Yeah.
they were competing with the train. So they had to go fast.
Yeah.
So intercity trolley cars could do 60, 70, 80 miles an hour.
Wow.
They could. And the beauty of it is that even at that speed, a trolley coming down up the hill, if somebody would flag it down, people would use like know, the farmers will come out to the track, flag down the trolley.
Yeah.
This is all farmland years ago. And you either use paper, flag it down, or a real flag it down, or mic and lantern, flag it down. The trolley could stop. You know, a train can't stop, too heavy, too big. But a trolley could stop much quicker than a train can.
What did they use for braking? What was the brake?
Like a train, air brakes.
Air brakes on here.
Yeah. You'll hear the pressure kick on every now and then. That's the for the brakes.
Now, you could have these both together.
You can, yeah. Sometimes everyone has trains, yes. They can, yep.
But do they usually, where they use single cars?
Yeah. Usually does. They're single. But yes, and like big cities, yes, they can hook up, you know, 1, 2, or 3, yeah, to each other, yes, yeah.
How old is this track then?
Well, okay, so that shoreline began in 1902. The state of Maine told the farmers, you know, we're going to take 60 feet wide, 8 miles long, all the property between Kennebunkport and Meserve to the trolley line. And so the farmers would think would be upset. They weren't. They were ecstatic. Why? It's 1902. Back then, roads were dirt. When it rained, they were mud. And when it snowed 4 feet, it stayed snowed 4 feet. So, put the brook structures on the roads. So, they were happy to have this limousine service in their backyard, cut through their farm. They didn't mind, okay?
Jim, did they do cargo pickup for the farmers? Or
They did too, yes. The trolleys could also take produce. Because some trolleys would have a section walled off. For food. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And so the farmers could, you know, would take a day trip to go into town and back, you know, horse and buggy or walking, and going to benefit would take maybe an overnighter. It was as simple as, you know, paying it, stop the flag the trolley down, pay your nickel, and you go to minutes. You go to Kennebunkport, and for half an hour, you go to benefit. You know, and you can bring all sorts of other produce too. You know, yeah. So, you know, they loved it. You know, and that was the case in 1904, 1927, when the infernal combustion engine became big on the scene. People were abandoning their mass transit, habits and going to cars, and even trolley companies were going to buses because they were cheaper. Buses doesn't need tracks to maintain, wires to maintain, a power plant to maintain, you know, so this company here, Atlantic Shoreline, doing the towel in 27, bought several buses to run on now Route 1. And they abandoned this line, put the tracks up, put the wires down, put the poles down. We used it elsewhere on their shrinking southern Maine and New Hampshire trolley system. At its peak it was 92 miles, that shoreline. But it began to shrink, you know, because of the automobile and buses. This line was abandoned in 27, and went to buses. And so we still own 2 more miles up the track right away. And but we got here in 95. So in 39, the museum began with three college students from Boston buying one trolley car, used trolley car. And it took from 39 to 95 to get up here. When the Talbot family, through the Boston Inn named after the Talbot family, they donated this land to the museum so we could build a loop there.
Yeah.
To turn the cars around. Otherwise, we would stop over there at that track and we would just change ends. Pull that pole down, that pole up, bring the tools over to that end and go that way. So we still own another 2 more miles up the track, but lack of money and lack of volunteer you know, manpower and also too, if we went up that way, we'd have to rebuild a bridge, and we'd go over several crossings.